On our wedding day, I used my billions in net worth to bind a system hoping to reverse the fate of my terminally ill wife. But after marriage, she constantly complained about the hardships of life, calling me useless. When I caught her being intimate with her first love, she even poisoned me, trying to kill me. Without the system's support, it didn't take long for her illness to worsen, and she passed away. When I opened my eyes again, we both found ourselves reborn on our wedding day. This time my wife tore off her veil, running away from the wedding to find her rich second-generation first love. What she didn't know was that, without the system to extend her life, she was already on the brink of death. Chapter 1. 6 years later, I met my ex-girlfriend Susanna at a class reunion. I was parking my motorcycle outside the restaurant when I heard a cold snort from behind. "Isn't that Benjamin? After 6 years, you've really gone downhill. You're coming to a class reunion and riding a motorcycle?" Turning around, I saw a Porsche Cayenne parked in front of me. It was Susanna sitting in the passenger seat, and driving was her first love, Dominic. Dominic looked me up and down with a mocking expression in his eyes, but pretended to be gracious. "Susanna, don't say that. After all, Benja is just a small employee. It's normal that he can't afford a car. Don't hurt his pride." They had no idea that I did have a car, but today I couldn't pick up my daughter, so I had my driver take my car to do so. Since the reunion venue was nearby, I borrowed my assistant's electric motorcycle. Just as I was about to speak, Susanna had already gotten out, arm in arm with Dominic. Dominic wore a well-tailored black suit, gold-rimmed glasses, exuding a sense of wealth and sophistication. Susanna had styled her hair in waves and was dressed in high-end brands. Her chin tilted slightly upward, and her every gesture exuded nobility and elegance. Seeing my attire, Susanna's beautiful eyebrows immediately furrowed. "Benjamin, how come you don't even wear something decent to a reunion? If I didn't know any better, I'd think you were here to beg for money." Sure enough, I was right to leave you 6 years ago. Without you and the shackles of family, I can fly higher and live better. Her lips curled upward in satisfaction, her eyes full of pride. I glanced down at my own attire, suit, tie, and leather shoes, everything in place. It was just that I came straight from work and didn't have time to change, so my clothes were a little wrinkled. But it wasn't as bad as Susanna made it seem. Seeing that I remained silent, Dominic pushed his glasses up and smiled to ease the tension. "These days, as long as you work hard, there's nothing you can't achieve. Benja must have his reasons for being in such a situation, right?" His words were full of sarcasm and mockery. "All right, Dominic. There's no need to waste time on insignificant people. Let's go inside and not keep our old classmates waiting." With that, Susanna, arm in arm with Dominic, arrogantly walked past me, holding their breath and speeding up as if I were some sort of filth. I chuckled, not bothered by their childish behavior, and followed them inside. Inside the private room, our old classmates were already seated waiting for us. Seeing Susanna and Dominic both dressed in designer clothes, the others immediately put on flattering smiles, eager to please. "Susanna, you're so lucky to marry a great guy like Dominic. Dominic is not only handsome but also successful and young. His future is limitless." During their flattery, they also casually mentioned me. Compared to Dominic, Benjamin seems a lot more down and out. I heard he's still just a junior employee now. Thank goodness Susanna escaped from the wedding back then and chose Dominic. Otherwise, she'd still be suffering with Benjamin. Their words brought back memories of the past. 6 years ago, Susanna and I were both reborn at the wedding. She regretted her decision from the past, and the first thing she did after being reborn was run away from the wedding to find Dominic. Everyone, including our friends and family, knew about it. Hearing them bring up the past, Susanna quickly tried to laugh it off, pretending it was nothing. Then, with a proud look on her face, she leaned against Dominic, squinting her eyes and playing with her newly done nails, casually showing off the diamond ring on her finger. I, however, remained indifferent, quietly taking out my phone to handle some work documents. Had it not been for my roommate insisting I attend, I wouldn't have come to this reunion at all. Seeing that I was unfazed, Susanna let out a cold snort, losing interest, and started calling for the waiter. "Why isn't the food here yet?" The waiter kindly explained, "It's being prepared. Please wait a moment." Half an hour passed and Susanna's brows furrowed tightly, clearly losing patience. When the waiter brought out the food, she angrily tipped a bowl of soup over her head. "Why is it taking so long? Are you trying to starve us? With service like this, expect to be complained about." The waiter was so frightened she started crying on the spot. Unable to stand it, I put down my phone and went over to help the waiter. "Enough, this is too much." The waiter shot me a grateful look, but Susanna sneered and looked down at me from her elevated position. "You're sympathizing with a waiter? Of course, you're both just lowly workers, so naturally you'd sympathize with each other. Earlier you were so calm I thought you didn't care about anything. Turns out it was all an act." The others also started mocking me, saying that I stood up for the waiter because I was jealous of how well Susanna and Dominic were doing. But I didn't care at all. What's there to envy? I'm very satisfied with my life. My wife is virtuous, my daughter is adorable, my career is successful, and my family is happy. What more could I possibly want? Susanna, however, seemed to have heard the greatest joke, scoffing. Satisfied? Well, it's a miracle you're even alive. People like you who don't strive for anything will always be mediocre no matter how many times you're reborn. Your future is hopeless. You and I are destined to never be a match. I nodded in agreement. That was true. We were never meant to be. In my previous life, I sacrificed my proud career and gave up a promising future to reverse her fate. This time, without her constraints, my career had clearly taken off. Seeing me nod, Susanna became even prouder and smugly started bragging about the century wedding that she and Dominic were planning. Sure enough, there's a huge difference between people. Dominic has spent $30 million preparing a grand wedding for me. We're getting married in 3 months. Just the bouquet of imported roses at the wedding will cost more than your entire annual salary. Dominic is so generous. Susanna, you're really lucky. The others marveled in awe, and Susanna tilted her head high, her face full of pride. Clearly, she was enjoying the attention. I, however, couldn't help but sneer inwardly. She still didn't know that this time, without me to bind a system to extend her life, she wouldn't even make it to that wedding. Chapter 2. In my past life, both Dominic and I were suitors for Susanna. But in the end, she chose me. She thought I was more reliable than Dominic, and I promised to treat her well for the rest of my life. And I did. On our wedding day, I learned that Susanna was terminally ill with only a short time left. In order to change her fate, I sacrificed my future and used my billions to bind a life extension system to her. After that, Susanna lived on in good health, but I, having exchanged my future for her life, kept missing out on opportunities and rising prospects. Each time there was a promotion or salary increase, it passed me by and I remained a low-level employee. But despite all that, because of my hard work and dedication, our life, though not as luxurious as others, was comfortable. We bought a small house in the county, and for daily commutes I used an electric scooter. It was modest, but at least we had a car and a home. Both our parents had retirement pensions, so we didn't have to worry about caring for them in old age. We had no children, so we didn't have the burden of raising them. Our life was simple but fulfilling and happy. But then one day Susanna casually saw her best friend flaunting her wealth on social media, showcasing her extravagant lifestyle. That's when Susanna became envious. She started complaining about how hard our life was, nitpicking, and calling me useless. She even pressured me to try harder and improve. But it was pointless. To save her, I had already sacrificed my future, and this life of mediocrity was all I could offer. Eventually, Susanna grew more and more dissatisfied with me and secretly rekindled her closeness with Dominic just because Dominic could buy her luxury bags and cosmetics, things I couldn't afford. When the truth came out, she poisoned me to death. As I lay dying, she looked at me with disdain and said, "Benjamin, if I could do it over, I'd never choose you again." After my death, without the system's support, Susanna quickly fell ill and died as well. So when we were reborn, she immediately ran away from the wedding to find Dominic. I didn't stop her. I just watched coldly. She thought her choice this time was right, but little did she know this was truly the point of no return for her. While I was lost in thought, Dominic had already given the waiter generous compensation, bringing an end to the drama. Everyone started praising Dominic's generosity. Some even seized the opportunity to ask, "Dominic, I heard your company secured a collaboration with Penguin Group. Is that true?" Dominic smiled casually, but his tone was filled with pride and self-satisfaction. "It's just a small partnership worth a few tens of millions. Nothing special." A few tens of millions and it's just a small partnership? Only Dominic could afford to be so extravagant. As the others gasped in awe, their eyes also turned enviously to Susanna. Dominic wrapped an arm around Susanna and affectionately brushed her nose with his fingers. By the way, this collaboration was actually Susanna's achievement. She's the one who negotiated it. Susanna couldn't stop smiling, her eyes narrowing with delight as she intertwined her fingers with Dominic's. This is what happens when husband and wife work together. Nothing can stop us. Choosing the right partner can help you progress, but choosing the wrong one will only hinder your growth. As she spoke, she deliberately shot me a provocative glance as if to announce her victory. I remained unfazed, even amused by her antics. I had never cared about her. It had always been her trying to compete with me. What she didn't know was that just a few days ago I discovered a flaw in Dominic's collaboration plan. I had already unilaterally decided to cancel the deal. I casually dropped a hint. Don't get too ahead of yourself. Whether the collaboration goes through is still uncertain. Susanna's face immediately darkened, her brows knitting together in anger. Benjamin, what are you trying to say? Are you really going to pour cold water on our happiness? You're not even in the industry. What do you know? Or is it that you just can't stand seeing me and Dominic doing well? The others, eager to curry favor with Susanna, also chimed in to advise me. Come on, Benjamin. It's a rare reunion. Don't spoil the mood. We're all old classmates. There's no need to make things uncomfortable. Why don't you have a drink to apologize to Susanna and Dominic? Maybe in the future they'll help you out as a favor to an old friend. Before I could respond, they'd already filled my glass, leaving me no chance to refuse. Susanna glanced at the drink and snorted coldly. If you want to drink to apologize, one glass isn't enough. You'll need a whole bottle. With that, she shoved an entire bottle of liquor in front of me. I lowered my gaze. She knew full well I was allergic to alcohol. She was doing this just to mock me. I pushed the bottle away, glancing at Susanna. Her face was so pale that even her foundation, I couldn't cover it up. I smirked coldly. I won't drink. But you, Susanna, rather than wasting your energy trying to mock me, why don't you start worrying about yourself? After all, you're the one with the terminal illness. Your time is running out. Chapter 3. When I said this, everyone was stunned, their eyes wide in shock. What? Terminal illness? Susanna froze for a moment, then immediately rummaged through her bag and pulled out her medical diagnosis. She threw it in front of me with a sneer. You must be talking about stomach cancer, right? I didn't expect you to be so envious of my life, hoping I would die. But, sorry, 7 years ago my condition was already under control. I shook my head and smiled lightly. You're overestimating things. Susanna still underestimated the severity of a terminal illness. A terminal illness is incurable. Its cancer cells spread and metastasize relentlessly. 7 years ago, Susanna was diagnosed with stomach cancer. She underwent medication and chemotherapy, and for a while I thought she had recovered. But later she still appeared pale and weak, occasionally fainting or going into shock. It wasn't until I consulted the system that I learned the cancer cells had already metastasized to other organs during the treatment for her stomach cancer. In 7 years at most, Susanna would die from the failure of her other organs. That's why I agreed to the system's offer, sacrificing all my wealth and future to extend her life. I gave up everything to give Susanna a healthy body. But she was still unsatisfied, becoming vain, comparing herself to others and longing for a more luxurious lifestyle. She wanted a better life, and I understood that. If she had just told me, I would have divorced her and set her free. But she shouldn't have betrayed our marriage, running off with Dominic. And after everything was exposed, She cruelly poisoned me. I snapped out of my thoughts to see Dominic holding Susanna in his arms, pretending to be magnanimous as he smiled at me. Benjamin, it's only natural for you to envy the good life Susanna and I have. But you shouldn't curse her just because you're jealous. We're about to have our wedding, and instead of giving us your blessings, you're trying to spoil things with bad luck. Dominic's words painted me as a petty and small-minded villain. Everyone in the room looked at me with disdain. Susanna has recovered, and Benjamin still says her time is running out? What a malicious thought. He's just bitter and jealous of Susanna's life, which is why he said that. He can't stand seeing her do well. Susanna was right to leave him. This kind of man is small-hearted and hopeless. No woman should marry him. When I didn't respond, Susanna's eyes once again filled with smug satisfaction. Since you're so envious of my life, I'll give you a chance. In 3 months, Dominic and I will hold our wedding, and you're invited to come. After all, this wedding is worth millions. You'll probably never have the chance to attend something like this again in your life. Susanna, you're so kind and magnanimous. Even after Benjamin said all that, you still invited him to your wedding. Benjamin, what are you waiting for? Don't you want to thank Susanna? I found it laughable. Whether or not this was the only wedding I would ever attend in my life was uncertain. But what I could be sure of was that Susanna wouldn't live long enough to hold her wedding. Just then, Susanna's phone rang. She grinned smugly, assuming it was the wedding planning company calling to discuss the details of her wedding. Since Benjamin will come, I'll tell them to add another seat. I'll have more lobsters and crabs delivered too. Benjamin, you're so lucky. If it weren't for my wedding, you'd probably never get to eat food like this in your life. To make sure everyone could hear the extravagance of her wedding, she deliberately put the phone on speaker. But to her surprise, it was the hospital calling. The voice on the other end was that of a doctor. Missin, your test results have come back. Your cancer cells have spread to your liver. You're now in the advanced stages of liver cancer. Chapter 4. Susanna's eyelashes fluttered and her face instantly turned ashen. Her voice quivered as she spoke. Liver cancer advanced stage? How could this happen? I cured my stomach cancer in the past. I was fine. How could I possibly have advanced liver cancer now? Before she could finish her sentence, Susanna suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing the blood pool on the floor, she froze in place. The people around us were just as shocked by this sudden turn of events. I coldly looked at Susanna and stepped closer. Leaning down, I whispered softly to her. Are you wondering why this is happening? Actually, you never really recovered from stomach cancer in the first place. The control you had over it was just the final flicker of life before death. You didn't die because I used everything I had, sacrificing my future to bind a life-extending system for you. In order to change your fate, I gave up everything. But you despised my mediocrity. Not only did you betray me, but you also killed me. So this time, you're going to suffer the consequences of your actions. Hearing this, Susanna stared at me in disbelief, her eyes wavering with doubt, but she still stubbornly refused to accept it. What life-extending system? You're just lying to me. She angrily shoved me away, shaking her head vigorously, unwilling to accept the reality. Advanced liver cancer? It's just a coincidence. The doctor made a mistake. Spitting blood? It's because I ate something too spicy, nothing more. Seeing her desperately trying to convince herself, I found it amusing. Who eats something spicy and spits blood like that? But I was no longer the same Benjamin who would put her on a pedestal, sacrificing everything to save her. In my past life I gave my heart and soul, but she ended up killing me. This time I was letting her go her own way with Dominic, sealing her fate. Fine, believe what you want. I've said everything I needed to say. Seeing my indifference, Susanna tried to prove she was healthy by patting her chest as if to show she was fine. See, I'm perfectly healthy. There's nothing wrong with me. But the next second she suddenly spat out another mouthful of blood. This time she was completely stunned, her words caught in her throat. Seeing the blood on the floor, the others finally realized the gravity of the situation. They tried to get Dominic to help take Susanna to the hospital, but Dominic, claiming to be squeamish about blood, distanced himself and stayed as far away as possible. In the end, it was the others who had to work together to get Susanna to the hospital. Since there was still some time left, I followed along to watch the show. When Susanna regained consciousness, the first thing she saw was the doctor's helpless expression and a diagnosis confirming advanced liver cancer. Enraged, she spat out another mouthful of blood, staining the hospital bed. Dominic, looking at Susanna now, wore an expression tinged with disdain. I, on the other hand, stood there watching with amusement. "Now do you believe me?" Susanna immediately wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and grabbed Dominic, glaring at me like a petulant child. "Benjamin, you just wanted to see the look on my face when I realized I had liver cancer, didn't you? I'll tell you, that's not going to happen. Even if I don't have much time left, I still have Dominic. He'll never leave me. The past 6 years with him have been the happiest time of my life. Unlike you, when I was with you all I had was a miserable life. Instead of being with you and suffering, I'd rather die of cancer. At least I'll die free, without regrets." I smiled faintly. "Is that so? Too bad your good days are coming to an end." Susanna shot me a cold glance. "What do you mean by that?" While she was still in the hospital, I had already called my assistant to cancel the partnership with the Bai family. As I was pondering, my assistant arrived with the prepared contract to terminate the cooperation. Before Susanna and Dominic could react, he directly handed the termination agreement to them. "I finally found you, Mr. Bai, Missin. There are issues with your proposal, and unfortunately we cannot continue the cooperation. This is the termination contract. If you have no objections, please sign it." The people who had followed us to the hospital were all shocked by this sudden twist. Dominic staggered, his legs giving out beneath him. Susanna's already pale face turned even whiter, and her lips trembled. "Terminate the contract? Why would you terminate the contract for no reason?" Suddenly it clicked for her, and she shot a murderous look at me. "Benjamin, it was you, wasn't it? You mentioned at the dinner table that there were issues with our proposal. You're the one who sabotaged it, aren't you? What have you done? Are you happy now? Ruining my happiness?" The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. With great effort she tried to get out of bed and staggered toward me, her claws aimed at me. But before her nails could reach me, my assistant stepped forward and blocked her path with a cold voice. "Enough! Open your eyes and look clearly. The person standing in front of you is none other than the CEO of Penguin Group, Mr. Lin." Chapter 5. The moment my assistant spoke, the atmosphere in the room froze. Everyone's attitude toward me flipped 180 degrees. Where they had once been disdainful, now they were overly eager and polite. "Benjamin, you've been hiding this well. Who would have thought you're actually the CEO of Penguin Group? I've always known you were different. Looks like you were born for wealth and success." That's right. All that talk at the dinner table was just casual banter. We were just messing around. "Mr. Lin, please don't take it to heart." Dominic and Susanna were rooted to the spot, their mouths hanging wide open. It took a while, but Dominic finally forced a smile, bowing his back and rubbing his hands together as he approached me wearing an overly flattering grin. "Mr. Lin, I sincerely apologize for the offense I've caused before. I didn't realize who you were. But our Bai family really needs this cooperation, and we're willing to make the necessary changes to the proposal. Can you consider giving us another chance based on our old connection as classmates?" He tried to extend his hand in an attempt to shake mine, but I simply sidestepped, avoiding any contact. "Your proposal had problems, which already shows your lack of competence. And not to mention, you mocked us before the cooperation was even confirmed, treating us as inferior. That shows your lack of character. If your integrity is questionable, how can I trust you to work with us? So no more need to speak. I won't be cooperating with you." With that, I turned to Susanna. "Susanna, you always said it was me and our family that kept you trapped. But haven't you realized that I was just as much trapped? You're right. We really weren't suited for each other. In my past life, it was stupid of me to use my future to extend your life. Without you, I'll only be better off. Susanna didn't expect that I would be doing better than her in this life. The shock made her cough up more blood. Soon the coughing became so severe that she was gasping for breath. Her vision darkened, and she fainted right there. Dominic, on the other hand, was frantic, pleading with my assistant to speak on his behalf. But my assistant, growing tired of his requests, kicked him away. The farce ended, and I turned to leave, heading home to be with my wife and daughter. As soon as I opened the door, 2 small bundles of joy with their hair tied in pigtails rushed toward me, calling sweetly, "Daddy, you're back. I missed you. Luna, my good girl, I missed you too." I scooped up my daughter Luna, and Elise, my wife, took off my coat and gave me a warm smile. "You're home. You must be exhausted after a long day. Come, sit and rest for a while." Seeing Elise and Luna, all my frustrations melted away. My heart softened in an instant. How lucky I am to have met them in this life. Elise and I met 6 years ago at Susanna's wedding. Elise had been the MC, and when Susanna ran away, Elise stepped in to cover for me, easing the awkward situation. We got to know each other from that moment, and later I took her out to dinner as a thank you. During our conversations, I found Elise to be a gentle, thoughtful woman. Our relationship grew from there, and eventually we got married and had our lovely daughter. In my previous life, Susanna and I had also discussed having children, but she didn't want them, claiming that childbirth would ruin her figure. I respected her decision and never pushed it. But seeing my colleagues with their happy families, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy. I longed to have a little bundle of joy call me Daddy and snuggle in my arms. Now, everything I wanted had come to pass, and my life was perfect. After playing with Luna for a while, she got tired, and Elise suggested taking her to wash up and get ready for bed. While they were in the bathroom, the doorbell rang, and I quickly got up to answer it. When I saw who it was, my brow furrowed. "What are you doing here?" There stood Susanna, drenched in the rain, wearing a hospital gown, her eyes red from crying. Chapter 6. Despite the rain outside, I didn't let her in. We were strangers now, and I didn't want Elise to misunderstand. Seeing that I wasn't inviting her in, Susanna's face fell with disappointment. She looked up at me, choking on her sobs. "Benjamin, Dominic never truly cared about me. He only saw me as a plaything. After you left, he blamed me for ruining his cooperation, hitting and scolding me while I was still on an 4 drip. Then he broke up with me. He never loved me. Benjamin, now I understand how good you were to me." As she spoke, Susanna kept sneaking glances at my expression. When she saw my indifference, her lip trembled, and her eyes quickly filled with tears. "Benjamin, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have treated you like that in my past life. 6 years ago, I made the wrong choice. I shouldn't have run away from our wedding. I shouldn't have abandoned you. Please, give me one more chance. Just tell me, and I'll break up with Dominic right away. We can start over. Okay?" Susanna's voice grew more frantic as she spoke, tears falling from her eyes. She tried to rush into my arms, but I shoved her away forcefully. "There's no need. I was foolish in my past life, but I've learned my lesson. We were never meant to be. And didn't you always want Dominic? I gave you what you wanted, so why aren't you happy?" Seeing my resistance, Susanna's eyes reddened even more. She shook her head desperately, her eyelashes trembling. "But Benjamin, now I realize I love you. Is there really no hope for us? Can we never be together again?" I shook my head, speaking coldly. "No, there's no hope. And you don't love me. You only came back because you want me to save you. That's the only reason." Her face fell as she realized I'd seen through her motives. She opened her mouth to speak but couldn't find the words. After a long pause, she looked at me with tearful eyes. "Even so, can you really just watch me die? Benjamin, when did you become so heartless?" I chuckled softly, each word deliberate and sharp. "I learned it from you. Susanna, don't forget, I died because of you in my past life. Do you really think I'd save my enemy? Now leave. From the moment you betrayed me, from the moment you ran away from our wedding, we were finished. I have a new life now, and you are part of my past. Don't come back here again. Seeing my resolve, Susanna finally realized I wasn't bluffing. A flicker of panic crossed her face. Benjamin, please don't leave me. She still wasn't willing to give up. She rushed toward me, trying to grab my hand. At that moment, Luna, who had finished washing up, ran out from the house. She opened her arms wide like a protective little mother hen and stood in front of me, glaring at Susanna with an angry expression. What do you think you're doing to my daddy? Chapter 7. Hearing Luna call me Daddy, Susanna visibly stumbled, her fingertips trembling. She called you Daddy? The next second, Susanna's voice shot up by an octave. Benjamin, how could you possibly have a child if you love me so much? I get it now. This is your adopted child, right? Her eyes were full of pleading as she looked at me, expecting me to deny it. Before I could speak, Luna, her face flushed with anger, raised her little fists and began to strike Susanna. Bad woman, you're lying. Luna isn't adopted. Luna is Daddy's daughter. After the shock, Susanna quickly started to comfort herself. Having a child doesn't matter. I can be her mother. Benjamin, we can raise this child together. I'm willing to do it. I was speechless, picking up Luna, who was stomping her feet in frustration, and comforting her. I then cast a cold glance at Susanna. Not needed. Luna already has her real mother. And yes, Luna is indeed my biological daughter. When I confirmed it aloud, Susanna froze, her eyes welling up with tears. Impossible, you're not even married. How could you have a daughter? Benjamin, you must be lying to me. I know you're angry because I ran away from our wedding, but I've already admitted my mistake. Before she could finish, I interrupted coldly. Who said I'm not married? Susanna, no one will wait around forever for you. Admitting your mistakes doesn't mean I have to forgive you. Susanna bit her lip hard, her sharp nails digging into her flesh. It was clear she couldn't accept this reality. I don't believe it. You loved me so much. You even gave up your future and your life for me. Just then, Elisa's gentle voice came from behind me. Hubby, what's going on? I smiled and pulled her close, affectionately ruffling her hair. It's nothing, honey. Just an unimportant stranger. Seeing our sweet interaction, Susanna finally realized that I was genuinely married. Her eyes turned red with rage as she rushed toward us. You're really married, Benjamin? How could you do this to me? You said I was your only wife. I couldn't help but laugh. So it's okay for you to run away from our wedding, but not okay for me to get married? You're too selfish. Elise recognized Susanna and smiled at her. I recognize you. You're my husband's ex-fiancé. I was the one who officiated your wedding, remember? Actually, I should thank you. If you hadn't run away from our wedding 6 years ago, we might never have gotten together. We wouldn't have had Luna. So thank you for making this possible. Elisa's words were soft, but they were laced with a sharp edge, like needles wrapped in silk. Susanna broke down in that instant, tears streaming down her face. She collapsed to the floor and, with a desperate cry, grabbed onto my pants leg, not letting go. Benjamin, I was wrong. I really regret it. Please give me one more chance. This time I'll love you properly. I kicked her away. This is the path you chose. You deal with it. And don't forget, you're still married to Dominic. You're a married woman. We both have families. Don't do anything disgusting. Susanna's eyes widened in disbelief, her face contorted with a mixture of pain and anger. She continued to sob, but I was unmoved. Get up and leave. You've already chosen your path, and now you have to walk it. Don't come back here again. Chapter 8. With that, I ignored Susanna's pleas and slammed the door shut, turning my back on her as I led Elise and Luna back inside without a glance. I let her cry in the rain, her eyes red and her voice hoarse, but I remained unmoved. Once inside, Elise seemed a little jealous. You went to a class reunion, and your ex-girlfriend showed up at our doorstep. Looks like you've still got quite the charm, Benjamin. I knew Elise was feeling jealous, so I quickly smiled and reassured her. Don't worry, honey. I've long since given up on Susanna. Besides, she hurt me before, so there's no way I'll ever soften toward her. My heart belongs to you, and only you. Luna, looking a little offended, chimed in. What about me, Daddy? I immediately pulled Luna into my arms. Of course there's you too. You and Mommy are the most important people in my life, and that will never change. After that day, Susanna never came to find me again. Instead, she started going after Dominic's company with a vengeance. Since she had been an executive at by corporation, she had access to a lot of incriminating evidence about their illegal activities. After her breakup with Dominic, she sought revenge by bringing in reporters and exposing all the evidence. This included proof of by corporation cutting corners, selling subpar goods, falsifying financial records, and embezzling public funds. Once the news broke, by corporation was in turmoil. Their stock plummeted, cash flow was severed, and many of their brand partners demanded to break contracts, seeking hefty compensation for breach of agreement. I was pleased to see it happen, since in my past life, Dominic had indirectly been responsible for my death. In this life, he was getting his just desserts at Susanna's hands. Under Susanna's relentless attack, by corporation quickly collapsed, and Dominic was personally sent to prison by her. After all of that, Susanna came to me once more. At that time, Elise and I were waiting outside Luna's kindergarten to pick her up. When Susanna saw me, her eyes lit up, and she quickly ran to my side, speaking with self-pity. Benjamin, I've divorced Dominic. To get back at him for what he did, I even personally sent him to jail. He'll spend the rest of his life behind bars. Now you won't be mad at me anymore, right? But I had never been mad at her. I had already stopped expecting anything from her. Seeing my silence, Susanna forced a smile and took out a small red velvet box from her pocket. She opened it in front of me and presented the diamond ring as if it were some sort of treasure. I truly understand now. Look, I even prepared a wedding ring for you. Benjamin, let's forget the past and start over, okay? Her loud declaration immediately drew the attention of other parents nearby, who began whispering among themselves, staring at us with curiosity. Isn't that Luna's dad? What's going on here? Is this woman his mistress? Is she trying to break up their marriage? I furrowed my brow, feeling a bit annoyed. I reluctantly took the ring from her. Seeing me accept it, Susanna's face lit up with a smile. Benjamin, I knew it. You still love me. But the next second, I coldly threw the ring away, my voice freezing. Don't you think this is too late? Whether you divorce or not, it has nothing to do with me. We're already over. I've built a new family, and I'm happy now. Don't come bothering us again. Elise, seizing the moment, tightened her arm around mine, clearly staking her claim. Susanna, Benjamin is my husband, and he will only ever be my husband. Stop torturing yourself. Don't come near us again. The other parents had now understood the situation, and their looks toward Susanna shifted to contempt. They began mocking her, calling her shameless for trying to be the third party. Susanna's face turned bright red with shame, and her lips were so tightly clenched that they bled. In a fit of rage, she pushed Elise, venting her frustration. Shut up. What do you mean, your husband? Benjamin is my husband. You're just the woman who stole him from me. Everything you have now should have been mine. Seeing Elise being pushed, I finally lost my patience. I raised my hand and slapped Susanna across the face. Are you done causing a scene? Susanna, clutching her red face, looked at me in disbelief, hurt written all over her face. Benjamin, I love you so much, and you're hitting me for another woman? I immediately stepped in front of Elise, my voice firm and cold. This is not just any woman. This is my wife. Susanna completely broke down, her voice shrill as she screamed. How can you be so sure that she didn't marry you for your money? Benjamin, only I truly love you. Every other woman who gets close to you has bad intentions. I laughed coldly. Enough. Don't try to stir trouble between us, and don't think I won't sue you for defamation. Ting Ting is nothing like you. She's always been kind, and she knows how to understand me and love me. As for you, you don't know how to love, and you don't deserve my love. Susanna, I admit I once loved you deeply. I loved you so much I would have given up everything for you. But you didn't cherish that. Now you have no right to regret it. Besides, the only thing you regret isn't losing me. It's that you made the wrong choice back then. By the end, my voice had become more impatient. Bottom line, it's over between us. If you keep bothering us, don't blame me for calling the police. Just then, Luna came running out of the kindergarten. I took Elisa's hand and picked up Luna, turning my back on Susanna as we walked away, not even giving her another glance. It was only then that Susanna realized she had completely lost me. She collapsed to the ground, sobbing in the wind, her eyes red and swollen. After that day, Susanna, full of rage, placed all the blame on Dominic. She paid off people in the prison to beat him severely. Dominic ended up losing all his teeth and had his legs broken. As for Susanna, it was said that she spiraled into deep despair, repeatedly attempting suicide, wanting to go back and redo everything. Once, she even jumped from the 18th floor, landing in a coma and becoming a vegetative state. Not long after, she completely lost her mind, constantly muttering the same words. I want to be reborn. I want to start over. After that, I stopped following Susanna and Dominic's news. I looked at Elise and Luna beside me, smiling happily. In this life, I had people I cared about and cherished. We would continue to live happily ever after.